read to y'all what an NBA source just sent me. He said, Jaylen Brown, it's not so much that he's underrated, it's that he's just not liked because of his, quote, I am better than you attitude. He knows it. It's the same reason he is not as marketable as he should be.
Hey, Jaylen, what do you plan to do with the generational wealth? I mean, what do you plan to do off and on the floor with this new contract?
Well, that's a great question. I want to launch a project to bring Black Wall Street.
I take a glimpse into time, watch the blimp read the world is mine.
And so let's go ahead and dive right in. Recently, one of my favorite NBA players, Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics, was recently front and center after winning Most Valuable Player of the Eastern Conference playoffs. And the topic of Jaylen Brown being a superstar in this league, or being one of the best players in this league and being marketable, came up.
I mean, times this postseason, Brown has looked like the number one option on the squad. We talked about
Facts.
Stop.
Facts.
Stop.
He is the number one option.
Stop.
To me, they just put Jason Tatum in the front. I think Jaylen Brown's better.
Who put him in the front?
Shit.
His game?
The people.
His game?
People.
Now, I've said this before and I'll say it again on this channel because it warrants repeating. When it comes to sports entertainment, when it comes to basketball, there's more at play than just playing the game and being good and being great at what you do. As far as how you're going to be covered, how you're going to be rewarded, how you're going to be marketed, there's more at play than your game. Your personality plays a big part of it. How you look plays a big part of it. How you carry yourself plays a big part of it. But even more than that, and what supersedes that, is something bigger. And that's something that Stephen A. Smith and his sources are going to allude to.
Jaylen Brown, it's not so much that he's underrated, it's that he's just not liked because of his, quote, I am better than you attitude. He knows it. It's the same reason he is not as marketable as he should be.
And so when Stephen A. Smith chimed in and revealed what one of his sources told him in regards to Jaylen Brown, a lot of people had an issue with that. And a lot of people disagreed with that. That's because most people, I would say, were acting from an emotional standpoint. Because logically, when you think about it, nothing about Jaylen Brown is marketable. Jaylen Brown is not only an intelligent black man, he's a highly intelligent black man. You're talking about an individual that had offers to go to MIT. He wound up going to Berkeley, had offers to go to almost any school that he wanted to go to, but he chose to challenge himself academically, and he went to Berkeley. And on top of that, he had offers from NASA to intern at NASA. So you're talking about a highly intelligent young black man, a socially conscious black man.
I think about that quote a lot when I think about the national anthem, which was written by Francis Scott Key, who was a slave owner. When we talk about the national anthem, we don't really talk a lot about the third verse that was written, which addresses, slavery, mentions like there's no hope for, a hireling or a slave, but the gloom of the grave. So racism is so deeply embedded in our country that people don't even flinch or even shift at the idea. It kind of is what it is. It's not the protest, it's not the police officers, the police brutality. It is, all of that is important, but it's also, the framework of systemic oppression. And that's starting with the national anthem. So I think being able to take a knee is appropriate, and it may not even really be enough.
And so, as I said, this is an individual named Jaylen Brown, who's a highly intelligent black man who's socially conscious. This might be public enemy number one. And if y'all remember, about a year ago, I did a video, and I believe it's still on the channel, right when Jaylen Brown got that $300 million deal, and he got up on that podium, and he said what he said.
Hey, Jaylen, what do you plan to do with the generational wealth? I mean, what do you plan to do off and on the floor with this new contract?
Well, that's a great question. I want to launch a project to bring Black Wall Street here to Boston.
And I had a little pushback for him in that particular video that I did, because one of the things that I didn't understand is why he was saying it publicly. As the saying goes, you don't let your right hand know what the left hand is doing. But now that I think about it, I don't think it really would have made a difference. Before these guys even get to the NBA, before they even get to the league, they're vetted. These people handing out checks want to see what kind of investment they're making, what kind of individuals they're giving these millions and millions of dollars to play a game. What kind of ambassador are they going to be to represent this team? What kind of ambassador are they going to be to represent the NBA? And they don't mind a knucklehead, somebody who's going to be in and out in trouble with the law perhaps, or a number of situations that could occur from somebody who lacks maturity. They don't mind something like that. But somebody who's a revolutionary and somebody who's intelligent, now that's a problem. And that was actually one of the pushbacks on Jaylen Brown. It was that he was too smart. How much was he actually going to focus on basketball? Which is something that we've never heard before. We've had individuals in the NBA that went to Harvard, Stanford, and they never questioned whether or not these individuals actually wanted to play basketball and were committed to basketball. And the whole term of being too smart never even came up. If anything, it was a plus. But all of a sudden with Jaylen Brown, it was a problem. Because nothing's ever changed. That's always been the threat. That's always been the most dangerous thing here in America. A so-called black man, especially a young one, highly intelligent and also socially conscious, that's a problem. But he's so talented at what he does. He's so skilled at what he does. They got to pay him. Now, they're not going to reward him. They're not going to give him all the accolades. They're not going to crown him the best player in the league, even though he's probably one of the best two-way players in the league. I think he's the best player on the Boston Celtics. May not be the most offensively skilled player, but he's the best two-way player. He can get his points in a variety of ways. He doesn't need any plays necessarily drawn up for him. He's going to guard the best player on the other team, and he's a leader. And so I think he's the most important player and the best player on the Boston Celtics, but he's never going to be rewarded as such. That's going to go to somebody else. It's got nothing to do about his personality or thinking that he's better than everybody else. Kobe thought he was better than everybody else. Michael Jordan thought he was better than everybody else. A lot of people on that level think they're better than everybody else. It's never stopped anybody from being the face of the league or being a superstar or being marketable. And so I think that's going to be a good spot for me to go ahead and close this one out. Definitely chime in the comment section. Let me know how y'all feel about this one. And as usual, peace and chaos.